Hello. Today we are going to be working on on the double knitting technique using the Portuguese knit style. When we're double knitting, we are making a two-sided fabric with inverse colors on both sides. So here the main color is a dark blue, and on the reverse, you see the main color is light blue with the dark color as the contrast color. The main reason why I wanted to show this is that there's one little trick that helps neaten up your stitches so they can be more even. At the bottom, where I was not using this technique, you can see the fabric is stretchier and the stitches have more gaps between the columns as the yarn is traveling back and forth and sometimes even getting twisted, which adds that extra space and makes the image less clear than up here. Don't worry about the image. I've just been messing around choosing random colors and random orders, just practicing. This is purely a practice swatch. Especially on the lighter side, you can see the dark colors peeking through, and it just doesn't look quite as good as I wanted it to. Whereas up here, you see a lot less of the dark blue peeking through in between the stitches. There is still a gap between some of the columns, and we can talk about that in a little bit, but it looks much better. You can also see, without changing needle size, my gauge has tightened up. This is taking up a lot more space than up here, where I've tightened up some of those kind of in between columns. I'm assuming that you already know how to knit the Portuguese style, but it's that color work part that we're working on. So I have it set up where my dark blue yarn is coming up to my shoulder, around my middle finger on my left. So it's coming up to my left shoulder, around my middle finger on my left, and sitting in my ball on the left. So my dark blue color is always on the left, and my light blue color is coming up to my shoulder, down to my right middle finger, and sitting on my right side. So my two colors are on opposite sides and they're not crossing, except for when we get to here. Here we will do a stitch. I'm just going to slip the first for my selvage, and then we're going to do our first knit stitch. So I moved both yarns behind, and I'm going to knit with just the dark blue. So that gives me my color on the front facing fabric. Now I will purl in the opposite color, which is in this case, the light blue. So that will turn into our knit on the other side. We're going to put both behind and do blue, dark blue, knit, and then bring both yarns to the front and do just the light blue for the purl. So far, so good. This is exactly how I expected it to go. We are just knitting the dark blue and purling the light blue, and this gives us our main color in the front. Where the extra slack can get worked in is when we switch colors that we're using. So now switching to my contrast color, if I went and knit with my contrast color, my light blue, let's see this, and then bring it to the front, see how this dark blue is wrapped around the light blue, and we haven't noticed that yet before. We've actually twisted the yarns together and then made so that we will have that gap. So we're gonna fix that. So we want to knit with the light blue color. To keep it from twisting, we're we're gonna come underneath the blue and grab the light blue and do our knit. Now the blue is in the front, it's ready to go, the dark blue. So we're going to purl that one and we don't have to do anything special. If we are going to go knit our dark blue is closest, so we can just knit that. And then if we go to purl, the light blue is already ready. It's only when we go with our contrast color that's sitting on the right that we need to worry about making sure I want to use the light blue. It's further away. So I'm going to bring my thumb underneath the dark blue, bring my light blue over and wrap it around and knit it. Then when I bring my yarns back to the front, my dark blue is ready to go. This is helping keep the yarns from crossing without causing any extra gaps in my thing, and I'm not having to move my yarns around. I saw one video for English knitting and where every time they changed the color that they were going to knit with, they were switching the way that they were holding the yarns in their hands, switching the balls around, which is fine if you want to do solid blocks of color. But once you start doing intricate designs, that is going to become lengthy. Here I can switch, keep my light blue color from twisting, my contrast color from twisting by bringing it underneath and then doing that. I'm just switching from just flicking right here to having to just go under and grab it. But that's a much smaller move than having to like completely drop all of my yarn and switch my position or the way that I'm holding it. And so you can start getting into a nice little rhythm and it works out. Now there's one more gap that you may have noticed. There is still a little bit of gapping, but when you look at the stitches on the needles, we're always doing everything in pairs. When we switch the color that we're doing in front, we end up with two of the same color together, which means that this dark blue that was in front on the previous stitch and then became a pearl on the next stitch has two stitches in between it. So that leg has to stretch further to get there. So you will still have some small gaps, but it's going to be much, much cleaner than having the twisted gaps. And then you can just finish up your row and you're all set. So my recommendation as you're doing this, because you're going to have to just untwist it less frequently, is have your main color on your left, because it will mostly be where it needs to be, and you'll only have to untwist when you have your contrast color on the front. So keep your main color on the left and then your contrast color on the right, and you will only have to untwist when you're switching to the contrast color on the knit side of the fabric, and you should be good to go. I hope you find this helpful. Thanks. Bye.